Okay, so my next video is just going to be how to get your servos and your wheels all working together right. So if you look at my robot right here, if you go to the bottom of it, you'll see my two servos are hot glued in pretty tight too. If I try to pull this, it doesn't come out without breaking my robot, of course. So the servos weren't too hard to actually hot glue in. All you had to do, for example, I had a help from some of my friends, but all I did was just hold my servo up, put some hot glue down, and just hold it down, like press it down and hold it just for about 5 to 10 seconds. And then, but the one thing you have to make sure that you watch for is that it has to be perfectly even with your robot on all sides, or in my case, just two. So just right here and right here. And the same thing goes for the other servo too. So then now the wheels. You can really use any type of wheel in general, but then the wheels I used were CDs. So here's my actual wheel that I used, and here's what a new CD would look like, obviously. So if you look closely at this wheel, let me zoom in. You see 4 holes all around it. So these holes, like, you don't have to do this, but then this is probably the most secure way of actually keeping your wheels in place. So what I really did was, if you look at this wheel, for example, this is the other side of my robot, but I took 4 screws and literally screwed it in really tight to this piece right here, which is, it's back here. You can't really see it too clearly right now, but that's it right there. And so what that does is it makes sure that the screws, like, it keeps your CD like really secure and in place. And if you just tape it or, let's say, hot glue it together, it's not going to be as effective. So the way to do this is, for example, if you look at the new CD, just drill one hole. It's just like one right there, one right there, one right there, one right there, just kind of making a cross. And then if you look in my thing right here, you just match it up with your CD, kind of like this. Or if I take my other CD, like this, and you just tape this whole section down, and then make sure you mark exactly where you want your wheels or your screws to be, and then just take some sort of drill. A stationary drill would probably be the best choice with this, because you need to be holding the CD while it's drilling. Or you can always get a partner to help you to hold this in place while you take a really good drill and just drill a little tiny hole about the same size as the screw, which you can see right there. So it's not that big of a hole. And so after you got these two drilled together, after you have them drilled together, like this, or since I took mine apart, it's not really drilled together, but the best thing to do is to keep it taped while you attach it to a servo. So right here. So all the servos come with the kit. That's where I got this from. It has many other shapes too, if you want to, if you don't like the circle. But what you do with the CD attached, just like right here, you just take this part of the little circular plastic thing, and it comes with a screw too, and you kind of put a screw right in here. So for example, here's the screw that you're actually supposed to use. So you just take it down, make sure there's a hole in the middle of the CD, and you just kind of screw this in place as tight as you can, and make sure you don't spin the servos along the way, because that could damage the actual motor inside. And then after that's done, I would suggest, if you look really closely, you can see little dabs of hot glue still left on there. I got rid of most of it, but then there's still a little bit, like for example, like right along here, a little hard to see, that's still on here. So I would suggest just hot gluing all the screws just completely in. So let's look at the other side of this guy. This guy was probably my best CD. The other one was, this is my first one. The other one was was really effective, but at the same time it wasn't as neat, and it doesn't look as cool. But what I did with this guy, since the screws on the top seem to be pretty stable, I only put a little bit of hot glue right along the bottom on the other side of this thing. I think there's still little bits and pieces right here. Just one little drop would do for each CD. You just see the end of the CD, the screws sticking out. Just put one drop of hot glue there, and then for all 4 sides. And then another important thing for your CD is traction. So if we look back to this, my rubber band isn't quite on it right now. But what this is supposed to do is that it's supposed to, let me zoom out just a bit. This is supposed to keep this, you're supposed to put this on the outside of the CD. And what it does, it just provides a lot more friction so that your CD, especially when it's, for example, like on the races or like the obstacle course, it'll be on a tiled floor. So it's going to be a lot harder for your CD to move if it just doesn't have anything on here. So that's what the rubber band is for. The rubber band's pretty hard to get on. So if I take this off of my robot, oh, and I suggest also after you get the rubber band on to tape it, but then that will just come in a few seconds. Hold on a second. So if you take this part off, so here's the rubber band right here. So this is a really hard to get on your CD. But if you have a CD like this, for example, just like that, and here's a rubber band. Let me zoom out again. Here's a rubber band. I suggest having someone help you hold the CD while you take the rubber band, while another person takes the rubber band with both of his hands and kind of just stretches it on the outsides like this. So it's hard for me to do it right now. Yeah, see, it's almost impossible for me to do it, but if I can get this on. Yeah, see, that doesn't work. So you need another person for this, or you could just struggle for hours just trying to do this. And so after you have that on, the rubber band tends to fall off really quickly. So it's a wise thing to tape. Just get some, for example, like electric tape or just any type of tape, and just tape it on as much as you can so that it never falls off again. If you look over here and over here too, you can see the little white areas. That's where my tape used to be before I took it off. Like here would be a better example if I zoom in. I used to have a piece of tape stretching all across here, but I took that off so I can show you what my screws look like and everything. And so that should be basically how the basic wheels and servos part of your robot. And it's not too complicated. But if you look at these wires, for example, these are the wires coming from the servos. So if I zoom out again, these wires, if you look closer over here, here's my circuit. They connect to this area right up here. So it's mainly based on your program, what servo connects to what. So if I, for example, just have like the wrong servo in the wrong like place, then I could have one wheel going, I could have my robot going backwards, or I could just have one wheel just like not working and the other one, anything could really happen. So this is basically your job to just kind of test it out and see, based on your program, which servo goes where. So you just connect it up just like that, as you can see I have done right here. And everything's black on my circuit board because I didn't have much time before the robot competition, so I just took black spray paint, just spray painted the whole thing as fast as I could. But you can still see the components pretty well. For example, here's just my basic circuit for my sensors, which I'll explain later on in another video.